Hey there, welcome back to the show. I'm Lei, and today I want to share something that completely changed how I think about success, productivity, and basically everything I do in life and work. I'm early in my career as a computational biologist, and my instructor gives me what seems like a simple task. View a file using Linux command lines. He tells me I have three options: cat, more, and less. Now, the names seemed pretty straightforward. Cat dumps everything at once. More shows you more content. And less? Well, that obviously shows you less. I'm working with massive genomic datasets here, so naturally, I go with the more command. I mean, who wouldn't want to see more information, right? But here's where it gets interesting. As I gained experience, I discovered something that made absolutely no sense at first. The less command was actually more powerful than the more command. Despite its name suggesting limitation, less had superior functionality, better features, better performance. It was a paradox that blew my mind. And then it hit me. This wasn't just about computer commands. This was a metaphor for everything happening in my life. We're constantly bombarded with opportunities promising us more connections, more projects, more responsibilities, more stuff. Yet all these options leave us exhausted, scattered, and making minimal progress in any direction. Meanwhile, the things that look small or limited, the focused choice, the single priority, the deliberate no, those are the things delivering exponentially greater rewards. So here's what we're diving into today. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by too many commitments, frustrated that you're constantly busy but not making meaningful progress, or trapped in this cycle of saying yes to everything while accomplishing nothing significant, stay with me. Because today we're exploring why doing less can actually give you more in life and career. And I promise you, by the end of this episode, you'll see your priorities in a completely different light. Let's start with something that will probably sound familiar. There's this principle called the law of the vital few, also known as the 80-20 rule. And the insight here is deceptively simple, but profoundly life-changing. About 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts. Think about that for a second. 20% of your clients probably generate 80% of your revenue. 20% of your activities produce 80% of your happiness. 20% of your relationships provide 80% of your support and fulfillment. 20% of your possessions account for 80% of what you actually use. Greg McKeown takes this principle and builds an entire philosophy around it in his book, Essentialism, the disciplined pursuit of less. And here's the key. Essentialism isn't about cramming more into your already packed schedule. It's not about becoming some kind of productivity machine. It's about doing less, but better, making the disciplined, systematic, and intentional pursuit of what truly matters the cornerstone of how you live and work. So let me paint you a picture of two fundamentally different ways of living. There's the non-essentialist, and then there's the essentialist. The non-essentialist walks around thinking, I have to. Everything feels mandatory. They believe it's all important. Everything seems equally urgent. They're constantly asking themselves, how can I fit it all in? They live in reaction mode. Someone asks for their time. They say yes automatically. A new opportunity appears. They immediately think, I can do both. They're constantly busy, always rushing from meeting to meeting, perpetually exhausted, yet feeling like they're not making real progress. The essentialist? Totally different mindset. They think, I choose to. They take ownership of their choices. They believe only a few things really matter, and they've gotten good at distinguishing the vital few from the trivial many. Instead of asking how to fit everything in, they're asking, what are the trade-offs? They operate by design, not by default. Let me give you a powerful example. Herb Kelleher founded Southwest Airlines, and when he launched it, people thought he was absolutely crazy. Instead of flying to every destination like competitors, he deliberately chose to offer only point-to-point flights. Instead of serving meals to boost revenue, he served none. Instead of assigned seating, passengers picked seats as they boarded. Instead of first-class service, just coach. Everything was stripped down. These weren't oversights or mistakes. These were strategic trade-offs made by design to keep costs low. Meanwhile, Continental Airlines saw Southwest's success and launched Continental Light, trying to copy some of Southwest's practices while keeping their traditional model. You know what happened? They lost hundreds of millions of dollars, got thousands of complaints daily, and the CEO was eventually fired. Southwest? They consistently delivered exceptional financial results and eventually provided the highest return on investment of any S&P 500 company between 1972 and 2002, all because Kelleher made deliberate trade-offs and stuck to his essential strategy. So the question becomes, how do you identify what's truly essential in your life? Let me walk you through some powerful approaches. First, you need to create space to escape and think. Frank O'Brien founded a marketing services company in New York, and he does something radical. Once a month, he gathers his entire 50-person team for a full day with no phones, no email, no agenda, just space to think. And get this, he doesn't schedule it on some random Friday when productivity might be low anyway. He holds it on the first Monday of the month. Even his clients know not to expect responses on Do Not Call Monday. Why? Because without space to think, you can't figure out what's essential. Think about your own life. When was the last time you had truly uninterrupted time to think about what matters most? Not reacting to emails, not attending meetings, not putting out fires, just thinking. Isaac Newton discovered the law of gravity during the plague years when Cambridge closed and he retreated to his family farm. He spent time walking the gardens, observing, thinking. That space led to one of history's greatest breakthroughs. LinkedIn CEO Jeff Weiner schedules up to 2 hours of blank space on his calendar every day just to think. Second, you need to look for patterns and trends that reveal true problems. Here's an example that really drives this home. A team at Stanford was tasked with making a safer baby warmer for premature infants in developing countries. They initially focused on making incubators cheaper and more reliable. But when they visited Nepal and observed the problem firsthand, they discovered something crucial. Most babies weren't even making it to hospitals that had incubators. The real problem wasn't improving incubators. It was creating a solution that could work in villages without electricity. This insight led them to invent the Embrace Infant Warmer, a sleeping bag-like device that could maintain a baby's temperature for up to 6 hours without electricity. It cost a fraction of traditional incubators and saved thousands of lives. Third, and this is huge, focus on what brings you joy, not just what's productive. In our results-obsessed culture, play gets dismissed as frivolous, a waste of productive time. But research shows that play is actually essential for innovation, creativity, and exploration. When we play, whether it's flying a kite, listening to music, or tinkering with ideas, we're engaged in the purest expression of our humanity. Play broadens our perspective, helps us see possibilities we'd otherwise miss. Einstein himself said the gift of fantasy meant more to him than his talent for absorbing knowledge. What brings you joy? What makes you lose track of time? Those activities aren't distractions from your essential work. They might be pointing you toward it. Fourth, build sleep into your schedule. I know, our culture glorifies sleep deprivation as a badge of honor. But here's the reality. After just 17 hours without sleep, your performance equals someone who's legally drunk. A study of violin students found that elite performers averaged 8.6 hours of sleep per night, significantly more than average performers. And fifth, apply extreme selection criteria. Derek Sivers, the entrepreneur who founded CD Baby, uses a simple but powerful filter. If it's not a hell yeah, it's a no. Instead of asking, is this a good opportunity? Ask, is this precisely what I'm looking for? Will this make my highest possible contribution? If you evaluate opportunities on a scale of 1 to 100, most people say yes to anything above 60 or 70. The Essentialist only says yes to opportunities scoring 90 or above. Okay, so you've identified what's essential. Now comes the harder part. You need to actively eliminate what isn't. Let me give you some powerful strategies. First, define an essential intent by making your purpose clear. Vague goals like get more done or be successful don't help you make decisions. Enric Sala spent years as a professor researching marine life, writing papers that only a handful of people would read while the oceans he studied were being destroyed. He realized his essential intent wasn't to study the ocean, it was to protect it. That clarity led him to leave his tenure-track position and focus on creating ocean sanctuaries. What's your essential intent? Not your job description or your to-do list, but your highest point of contribution. Second, learn how to say no. This is hard. We're wired to want to please people, to avoid disappointing others. But here's the truth. When you say yes to something non-essential, you're saying no to something essential by default. Peter Drucker put it bluntly, people are effective because they say no. The good news? It gets easier with practice. Try the awkward pause. When someone makes a request, pause. Count to 3 before responding. This prevents automatic yeses. Or use the soft, no, I can't make it, but thank you for thinking of me. You're declining the request, but preserving the relationship. Or when pressured, ask, what should I deprioritize to make room for this? This forces others to acknowledge the reality of trade-offs. Third, avoid sunk cost bias. The Concorde jet was a stunning achievement that could fly from London to New York in under 3 hours. It was also a spectacular financial failure that lost money for over 4 decades. Why did governments keep pouring money into it? Because they'd already invested so much. We all do this. We stick with failing projects because we've invested time. We stay in wrong-fit jobs because we've put in years. Here's the antidote. Ask yourself, if I wasn't already invested in this, how much would I invest in it now? Usually, the answer is nothing or very little. Fourth, embrace editing principles. A good editor makes every word count. Cut activities that don't serve your essential intent. Condense by doing more with less. Correct what's not working rather than forcing it. And here's the key. Edit less. Not everything needs changing. And fifth, set boundaries. Jin-Young Cho worked at a design firm notorious for demanding late nights and weekends. When a project manager asked if she could work on a presentation that weekend, she said no. The manager pushed back. Jin-Young held firm. Why? Because weekends were for church and family. These were her deal breakers. She didn't get fired. She was eventually respected for it. Without clear boundaries, you end up imprisoned by limits others set for you. With clear boundaries, you're free to explore the full range of options you've deliberately chosen. Now here's where it all comes together. Identifying and eliminating is crucial, but execution is where essentialism becomes a lifestyle. The way of the essentialist isn't to force execution, but to invest time saved into creating systems that make execution easy. Instead of asking, how can I make this happen? Ask, how can I make this easier? Think about your morning routine. If you have to decide each morning whether to exercise, you're relying on willpower. If you lay out your workout clothes the night before, set your alarm, schedule gym time, you've created a system that makes execution nearly effortless. Remove obstacles for the vital few and increase friction for the trivial many. If you want to reduce social media use, delete apps from your phone. If you want to avoid junk food, don't keep it in your house. And focus your full energy on the essential task at hand. One simple question helps maintain focus. What's important now? Not what was important yesterday or what might be important tomorrow. Right now, in this moment, what's the one thing that deserves your full attention? When you ask this consistently, you stop responding to the urgent and start focusing on the essential. So here's what I want you to take away from today's episode. The ultimate promise of essentialism isn't just productivity or success, though you'll likely achieve both. It's living a life of meaning and purpose. A life where you look back without regret, knowing you invested your precious time and energy in what truly mattered. When you become an essentialist, you'll find yourself swimming against the cultural current. When others say yes, you'll say no. When others are doing, you'll be thinking. When others are speaking, you'll be listening. When others complain about how busy they are, you'll just smile, unable to relate. But here's what you gain: control of your own choices, a life that actually matters, work that makes a real contribution, and the satisfying experience of making significant progress in the things that count. Like my discovery of the less command, the path of doing less but better might seem counterintuitive at first. Our culture preaches more hustle, more opportunities, more connections, more everything. But the essentialists among us know differently. They understand that the vital few deliver exponentially more value than the trivial many. They've learned that the disciplined pursuit of less allows them to make their highest possible contribution. So here's your action plan. This week, create 2 hours with no phone, no email, no agenda, just thinking time. Identify 3 types of requests you will no longer say yes to. Look at your current commitments and ask, if I didn't already have this, how hard would I work to get it? Start there. That's your first step toward becoming an essentialist. The choice is yours. You can continue saying yes to everything and progressing a millimeter in a million directions. Or you can choose the disciplined pursuit of less and make remarkable progress in the right direction. For the complete article with all the stories, frameworks, and action steps we covered today, head over to bullishbooks.com. I've got the full breakdown there, along with tons of other content on entrepreneurship, productivity, and building a life that matters. Until next time, remember, less really can be more. I'll see you in the next episode.